How has James changed the punt return game for you?
James has done a good job the last couple weeks that he's been here, and I liked him when he was coming out of school. I thought he did a good job when he was in Baltimore. Very good judgment, good hands, smart kid, very hard worker, detailed, and is a guy that is going to get downhill.
When
Hey, by the way, you jinxed me. You jinxed us. On the penalties, you jinxed us. You jinxed us. We'll be cleaner this week. We'll be cleaner this week.
when Andrew decides to go after a guy for his practice squad and you know him, does he come to you? Do you contribute to that?
Yeah, they'll tell me what they're thinking, or guys that we could possibly bring in. So, yeah, they've asked me about a handful of players. That was a guy that we had talked about. Yep.
Is that someone that can return some kicks for you guys? Is that it?
He has done some of that for us, and we're always looking at the guys on the roster that can do more. So, felt like that's a thing that we can look at, moving ahead.
Returners, is it sometimes just innate skills? Is it just that some guys get it and others, struggle to kind of figure out the nuance to being a good returner?
Yeah, there's a lot of, when it comes to punt return versus kick return, you don't see as many guys that are able to track, judge the ball, have the hands to be able to catch a punt. It's not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of variation on it when the ball's coming off the foot. So there's really only a handful of those guys on each team that can do it. Fortunately, we have a good one right now.
James sort of compared it to playing center field in baseball. Would that be an apt comparison in terms of fielding punts?
Sure, I think so. When he first came here, the first day that we went out and caught balls off the live foot, he had mentioned that he had played baseball a lot, and that helped him with his ability to track and judge the ball. So, yeah, I think that there's definitely some similarities there.
What about the tradition of
I don't know anything, but it seems like Mike Ford is really good at covering this.
Mike Ford? Yeah, Mike Ford he's a good coverage player for us. He's the thing about Mike is he's relentless. He's obviously has really good speed, and he's tough. And when you have those traits at the positions that he plays for us, you're going to have production, and he's done a good job. And he would have even more. He's missed a couple. He missed one at Pittsburgh. He's been close on a few others. He'd be really at the top of the league, honestly. And he's been a disruptive player for us, and excited that we have him.
What about the tradition of the Baltimore Ravens special teams and just how good they always are, and what challenges does that present for you this week?
Yeah, since I was a player here, Coach Harbaugh had been the coach, and obviously he has a special teams background, so they take, a lot of pride in their units. They're really at the top of the league, near the top of the league every single year. They put a lot of time and effort into how they practice and how they prepare. I saw that firsthand in a joint practice whenever I was in San Francisco against them. They practice hard. They've spent a lot of time on it each day. I've heard that from a number of players throughout the league, and it shows up consistently. And they've had good specialists over the last however many years. Obviously, they have an elite kicker, one of the best, if not the best ever, to do it.
Those penalties you meant.
The idea that the idea that they've been so consistent for so long, whether it was under Jerry Rossman or now under Coach Horton. When you look at a special teams unit that is as consistent as Baltimore is, are there commonalities that you point to and you're like, hey, if we want to be one of the elite special teams units in the league, we need to follow this kind of formula that they seem to have done well?
Yeah, I think that, the groups that have had consistent success over the last however many years, you look at the foundation of the unit, right? It starts with footwork, the basic fundamentals of blocking, protection, all of those things factor into that. You see teams like Baltimore, New England, I'm hoping that I can I feel like I've taken on those types of things with my units where you just turn on the film and you're like, oh yeah, I can see it. I can see it in the fundamentals and the footwork and the technique, and just understanding how to really play the game, being able to use your hands, defeat blocks, set up your avoids, things like that. So, those guys have done a really good job in Baltimore since Coach Harbaugh's been there, and yeah, just hoping we can show up on Sunday. And then back to your penalty question.
Yeah, were they just? I think you have said in the past that happens when you're not in position. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think we just got to do a better job playing a little bit more, I would say, poised down the field in our technique, and understanding how to execute a little bit better. A couple young guys had just some mishaps that we're gonna get cleaned up. It was addressed on Monday, so we're gonna get those cleaned up this week.
73-yard net, is that the best you've been part of?
Yeah, and I had asked him what his career long was, and I think his career long is 82, for his as far as the gross. No pun intended, Tony. But yeah, no, it was a great play in the game. Flipped the field. Corey's been a weapon for us. We've covered pretty good on that unit as well. So excited that those guys are stepping up when we need them. Appreciate it. Thanks.
video creates an advantage to let everyone else know that there's still Watson deep threat despite all this shoulder problems?
Oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, he threw the ball accurately down the field all day, so that was good. Getting him back out there was awesome. Felt like he was close to back to normal. He missed some things early, shorter, but the long balls were indication of where we're heading. We're really happy.
Why might it be almost easier with that kind of an injury to hit the long ball than the shorter?
It is. I think so. As a thrower, it's a longer motion. You're putting more body into it. Your legs are involved more as opposed to the shorter ones where you may not get your full body into those throws and rely more on just your shoulder strength, but that'll continue to grow.
Alex, how much difference will it make with your offense, to have Deshaun back compared to DTR when he wasn't, really expecting to play that first game?
Yeah, big difference, I hope. That's the plan going in, have a good week of preparation. Deshaun's played this group before, so know what to expect there, and he played well last time he played him here at home.
So after what you said about the long balls, do you think his shorter throws, which were not to his satisfaction, were more the result of the injury than the longer throws?
I think so. Yeah, that and just knocking that rust off again. Now the first couple throws, I was like, man, he missed those. But then you look back on the tape, there's some circumstances that come up where the receiver maybe took his eyes off and slowed down a hair where it was a little too far out in front. So as I watched the tape, I felt better.
Alex, how do you, now you had to practice yesterday without Dewan. How are you approaching that tackle spot or both tackle spots?
Yeah, just really, Kev said it best. We're just working through everything right now, all the different possibilities, and we'll obviously let that go all the way up to game time to see who's there. But James has always worked hard. He's played both sides. Does a nice job when he gets in. So, but we have other options, and we'll see. We'll let that go right up to game time.
How unsettling is it against a pass rush like the Ravens had?
Yeah, anybody that goes out there, if you had the full healthy Boda lineman out there, it's still a challenge. That's a good defense, and the edge rushers are special. So, it's always a challenge, and that's part of football. We got to find a way to make it work.
Other than the change to quarterback, what do you guys have to do to be better than that first Baltimore game?
Oh man, not turn the ball over. That's the first and foremost. Really, we had a small victory party on Monday. As we got the team back together, literally we shot off confetti, blew air horns. Yeah, it was cool. Celebrating no turnovers. So first and foremost, we got to take care of the football. And then in the hostile environment on the road, your operation has to be, elite. We talk about that often. If we could prepare and get ready for the game the same way we did in Seattle, from an operational standpoint, we'll feel good. Then it's just about outworking these guys and trying to finish. It's a very physical, good defense. We know that. It's a AFC North. It's never easy playing our division opponents, and this won't be any difference.
Alex, how have you seen the evolution of your running back room just kind of grow over the last few weeks? And I know we've talked, obviously as a committee, but the way that they complement one another as a unit.
Yeah, no, it's good. You got guys like Kareem. That's just a grinder, man. He's a hard runner and makes good cuts, gets positive yards. Jerome has ability to catch a ball out of the backfield, his ability to make guys miss. And has that speed, the long speed as well. Then you get Pierre into the mix, and he's a true speed guy. He can get to the corner and chew up yards quickly. So it's a good complement of backs, and they do complement each other. Again, it'll be giving them all touches, and then finding out who's feeling it that day, and maybe giving them a few more.
What sets their linebackers apart from other groups around the league?
Freakish athletes, big bodies, their instincts and their ability to diagnose, play schemes, I think is what separates them. Definitely, two of the elite linebackers in the league, probably one of the better duos in the league. So, it's a challenge every time you play those guys, and we gotta be up for it for sure. They pressure with those guys. They do a lot with those linebackers, and it's a team that rarely plays dime because they want to keep those two players on the field at all times. And I don't blame them.
Kevin's talked about the attention that defenses give Amari week in and week out, yet he's still having a really productive season for you. So how's Amari able to do that despite the attention?
Well, for starters, he has to be patient, I think, and he has been. The last throw to him in the game was something that those guys came up with on the sideline. Every third down, Amari was getting doubled. And oftentimes they were doubling from low and not getting back over the top. So those guys saw that on the tape and brought it to our attention. We dialed it up and drew it up real quickly on the sideline and then executed it in the next drive. So finding ways just to find balls for him, you know, whether it's moving around, putting him in motion, hiding him in the backfield, whatever we need to do. But very productive player for us, and you know, teams are definitely doing their due diligence and trying to take him away.
You know, a lot of focus is on Amari as far as his production goes. How do you get more production out of the rest of that receiving core? I know David's a big part of the pass game.
Sure.
You know, Jerome and that, but just from a receiver standpoint, it just feels like, yeah, other guys are getting targets, but the production's coming from Amari, and that's about it. So how do you improve that?
Well, anytime you double one guy, you're going to have to single some other guys up. So we got to win our one-on-ones there. You know, Elijah's done some really good things for us as well. Said just really getting into it now. Expect to see him have some more productivity. And then Dave, I mean, Dave's playing at an elite level right now from the tight end position, both in the run and the pass game. So finding ways to spread the ball, using the backs more in the pass game, all that's available.
I know Nick Harris has kind of become your fullback, although it's never really been officially announced like that. Is it fair to consider him on the offensive line this week, given all of the challenges you guys have at tackle? Could he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a Swiss Army watch or knife for us, really. So he can get in there and do a lot of different things. We'll still continue to use him in multiple spots. Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
What was your biggest takeaway and lesson learned from the first time you guys faced Lamar?
I don't know. I think I'll just leave that. I'll leave that for the Ravens to figure out. There's no sense in me talking about what we did well, what we did poorly, and what we're changing.
What kind of a challenge is he, though, obviously, with his ability to take the smallest play and turn it into a big one?
Yeah, I mean, he made some scramble plays and some quarterback run plays in the first game that we played, and we'll have to do better on those. We did a lot of good things in the first game too. Didn't play a consistent game, didn't finish the game well, but there's a lot to build on from that game.
What does a dynamic tight end like Mark Andrews do to stress a defense specifically?
Well, he's really good at uncovering when the quarterback's scrambling. Quarterback has confidence in him, and they seem to really have some sort of mental telepathy. They always seem to be moving in the same direction when the quarterback scrambles. So he's a big target. He's got really good hands, and he's just really instinctive to try to break open and make himself friendly to the quarterback.
Having Odell, obviously he didn't play the first match. How does having him affect the rest of their passing game?
Well, I mean, obviously it adds another weapon. They have a full arsenal of guys. You mentioned the tight ends. They got a couple tight ends that are tough outs, particularly in the passing game. But veteran player like Aguilar, veteran player like Odell, a young player like Flowers, and a good running attack, the best running attack in the NFL. So, they have weapons at a lot of different places, and we're going to have to play our best on defense.
Jim, I know you go against the Ravens offense, but do you consider this like a battle between you and Mike McDonald with their defense? Both of you guys are rated high in many categories.
Yeah, ratings don't mean anything to this game. We have to go out and perform our best and not worry about what the other side of the ball is doing or what they're doing on defense. We have our own challenges. We have things that we need to accomplish, and worrying about, comparing ourselves to somebody else is not going to fulfill any of those, objectives that we have.
Is Keaton Mitchell adding to an already really good run game for them? Their rookie.
Oh, yeah, made some big plays last week. They got a lot of different kind of backs, between Hill and Edwards and Mitchell. They different sizes, different strengths, and I think, when they lost their starter at the beginning of the year, they were sort of finding it. Well, they didn't replace him with just one guy. They replaced him with a bunch of different guys, and that's sort of the way this league goes. You get, different players that have different strengths. The thing about playing offense is, you're the one that can decide what personnel packages you're going to be in. You can decide, how you're going to use a guy, whatever. Like, if you don't like him in pass protection, well, free release him. If you don't like him in the pass game, well, run the ball. So I think there's ways that offensive coordinators can make use of guys that have very distinctive skill sets, and we'll know which running backs in the game, and we'll have a plan for each of them.
I asked Grant in the locker room about whether he thought the change in scheme or a different attitude defensively was a little more impactful for them this year. And he said he really couldn't answer between the two because he felt like they were both equally impactful. How do you feel about what you have learned about this team through the first couple of months here, and the attitude in particular that they play with?
I know we're a work in progress. We're only halfway through the season. We got a long way to go. When the season's over, we can talk about what made a difference for us, or different things like that. Our total focus is on the Ravens, and we're worried about that right now, as opposed to what's transpired over the last 8 months or whatever it's been.
Notice defense is catching up to offenses across the league this year.
I don't pay attention to much around the league other than the opponents that we're playing. So we got our hands full every week, and that's what our focus is on, is
trying to figure that stuff out as opposed to trying to figure out greater trends.
Miles said he's always thinking about a shutout. Are you the same way? And how special was it to get?
What was the first part of your question?
Was always thinking about a shutout?
Yeah, we're just trying to win the next series. You know, I think I've been on the record as saying, you know, the defensive job is to limit scoring and then try to set the offensive up in good field position, which you can do a lot of different ways. You can do it like a backed up stop like we did, or a turnover, or even just a punt with a good return. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do that. But, you know, I mean, every drive we're trying to limit scoring. And if you do that well over the course of a game, obviously you're going to keep the score down and, you know, potentially have a shutout. We're trying to win the game. You know, not a lot of style points, you know. I think, you know, I've said before, you know, how we're doing on defense is 5-3. How the individual players are doing on defense is 5-3. It's hard in this league. It's hard to stop offenses. You know, we have to play our very best every series, every down. And if we do that over the course of the game, then we'll get good results. You know, and I think the result last week was an indicator of good, consistent defense, and that's something that we've been struggling the previous 2 weeks to find.
Well, takeaways. What's been the difference there, and how do you sustain that now through the meat of the schedule here?
Yeah, well, you guys brought it to our attention, so we decided that we were going to try to get takeaways. Yeah, I mean, again, you know, there's if you concentrate on doing your job, being physical when you do it, you know, turnovers come. And if you spend your time fretting about turnovers or trying to create turnovers, a lot of times you can go down the wrong path. And, you know, you look at the ones in the game, you know, they came from guys doing their job, you know, guys, you know, playing physical, you know, Sione's interception was a direct result of Isaiah McGuire's first, you know, time playing in the NFL. And, you know, he was, you know, he didn't play great all the time, but he played really good on that play and pushed that guy right into the quarterback and had a lot to do with creating that turnover. So, you know, it's where you know, your physicality and your pursuit and your you know, your effort sort of meets opportunity, and we have to take advantage of them, you know, when they come. And you know, I think you saw that in this game. But you know, we're trying to do our job, trying to play good defense, trying to play together, trying to be physical, have some passion for the game, and play with good effort. When we do all those things, the end of that equation is turnovers will come.
And when we just talked to Al, he said they celebrated no turnover game with a party, complete with confetti. So my question is, how did you celebrate 58 yards of total offense?
Yeah, I mean, the same as any other win. You know, we generally don't, you know, look at stats for self, you know, worth or, you know, anything like that. You know, even in that game, there were still little things that we can clean up, and you know, we're trying to do whatever we can to get the win, and we're going to celebrate that, whether it's a high-scoring game like the Colts, or you know, a game like we just played. You know, we'll keep our eyes on those things. You know, obviously we play, the whole team plays better when you get turnovers and don't turn it over. You know, there's no offense that goes into a game saying, yeah, we're probably going to turn it over 2-3 times in this game. It's just, you know, the way things happen. You can't really plan that stuff. But that's a good formula for us. Good formula, not turning the ball over and getting turnovers and getting stops on third down. I mean, they didn't get a first down on third down until late in that game when our backups were in the game. So, you know, those things all add into, you know, coming out with a victory. And that's the most important thing, you know, how many yards you give up and, you know, points and everything else. You know, when you get the win, you feel good, and we'll have confetti for that.
Having, you know, Odell back for this game and Rashad, and now Keaton Mitchell in there, Ronnie Stanley. Is it almost like you're preparing for a different opponent in some ways than in that first meeting?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, you know, they have quality players they put in with backup players, and, you know, we're going to have guys potentially missing too. So, you know, their scheme has stayed the same. They've evolved a little bit over the course of the season. You know, every team does. We've evolved and do things just a little bit different here and there. So, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, they have a pretty good idea, like, who we are. We have a pretty good idea who they are. Maybe there'll be a couple different faces in there, but you know, it'll be a good AFC North battle.
Probably a limited number of extra special athletes in the NFL. I mean, they're all great, you know, but extra special. Lamar, they have one. You have one, Maya. Does he need to match in the framework of his assignments? Does he need to show up big for you guys to win?
Yeah, I mean, he shows up big all the time. I would say he just has to concentrate on being the best version of himself. And again, like, this game isn't going to be our defense versus their defense, or one player versus another player. It's going to be the Ravens versus the Browns, and you know, we all have our part to play in that. You know, in big games like this, you need your big players to come up big, and you know, Miles will be ready for that.
What do you think about Shelby and Delvin together when they played?
Yeah, all of our tackles played well. You know, those guys stood out a little bit more on the stat sheet, but you know, Jordan played very well, and you know, as did Mo. So, you know, we're at our best when we stop the run. Those guys have a lot to do with that, being physical, knocking blockers back, being able to turn a game one-dimensional, you know, is big for us. And, you know, I just go back and you watch all the games that we've been able to control the first and second down run game. We've played well on defense, and we've been able to get sacks. If you don't control the first and second down pass game, you're not going to be able to get after the passer the way that we want it. Those guys have a lot to do with it. Dalvin, you know, it's hard. Defensive tackles generally don't get, you know, Aaron Donald's aside, generally don't get a lot of sacks. But to get 2.5 in that game and be around the quarterback and make the plays that he did, you know, you guys understand, you know, how respected and how valuable a guy Dalvin is, not just on the field but in the locker room. And it was really fun to watch him, you know, have success in that game and lead us to a win, and you know, sort of the unsung heroes of our team. I think a couple weeks ago I might have said something to the effect of, like, Dalvin didn't fill up the stat sheet, but he had a lot to do with us having a good game. Well, this game he was able to fill up the stat sheet still. So he's a valuable player for us, as all those tackles. We're getting really good contributions out of all those guys. They're not selfish. You know, they split reps, but it keeps them fresh, and production is the only thing that we really worry about. All right, guys?
Yep, sure.